Hi, in this video I'm going to be talking about some back to school tips. So if you're like me, going back to school can be an incredibly stressful time. I've been feeling extremely anxious over the past couple of days about school and whether I'll be able to handle all the workload that's going to come my way and also manage my mental health. Because of this, I wanted to make a video on some tips I try to follow to help ease my return to school. Before we begin, I just want to say that if none of these tips apply to you or they aren't helpful, please feel free to ignore them. You know your own self and your own mental health best. And I just want to say that there was a time in my life when none of these strategies would have been helpful for me and I wasn't able or ready to return to school. So I hope you can take what is helpful and leave the rest. So the first and biggest tip I have is to reduce your course load. Switching from full-time to part-time for me made it possible for me to continue my studies even while dealing with a severe mental health issue. For the past few years, I've been struggling a lot with bipolar disorder, dealing with medication changes and hospitalizations, so I've only been able to take one course at a time instead of the usual 5 per term. I've been working on getting my degree for 7 years now, and I sometimes feel embarrassed about how long it's taken me, but I have to remind myself that I was sick for a long time, and it's okay to take as long as I need to graduate. Going part-time also worked out to lower my tuition because I ended up paying per course load instead of program fee. So if you find taking a full course load is very stressful, there's no shame in doing less and sticking to what you can manage. And it's okay if school is not the best thing for you right now. There was a time when I failed the course because of how sick I was, and there was a time when I had to take a semester off entirely because I just couldn't manage school and my mental health. You can always come back to it when you feel ready and stable. Everyone has a different path in life, and when you graduate is unique to you. The fact that you are so dedicated to getting your degree despite so many obstacles is success enough. And if you are really struggling with school, it's okay to step away and get the support that you need. The next piece of advice I have to offer is to get accommodations and get them in place early. This is something very difficult for me because I often feel like I don't need the extra help, but then deadlines will start rolling around and I'll be overwhelmed with tests, exams, and quizzes, and I would have to scramble to ask my professors for extensions or stay up late and just end up feeling really anxious. I think it is important to say that getting accommodations isn't cheating or unfair. School should be accessible to everyone, and if you need some more time or support in order to be successful, then that is totally fine. You should definitely not feel guilty about using the supports that are available to you to your full advantage. So this semester, I'm trying to get in touch with my accessibility services at my school early and sort out my accommodations way in advance. For me, this looks like having extensions on assignments, getting extra time to write tests and exams, and having a private space in order to write those tests and exams. My therapist as well is also entirely covered by my school's health plan, so looking into the resources that are available at your school can be really, really valuable. The other major part of this is talking to your professors and making sure your individual needs are being met and that they're making their classroom as accessible for you as possible. I often have to choose classes based on how accommodating the professor is. Sometimes this means I can't take courses that I want to because the professor won't accept extensions or they expect a medical note for all your absences, and that makes it really difficult for me to take their classes, which is really messed up. In the future, I might be making a video on how to advocate for yourself, deciding how much to disclose, and finding a good professor that is going to be compassionate and wants to help you learn and succeed. The third tip I have is to follow up with your support system frequently. This is something that I also struggle with because I often second guess how bad I'm feeling. Sometimes I feel like I'm not sure if things are bad enough to warrant reaching out for help, but recently I've been trying to use the avenues that are available to me to get support and manage my anxiety early. I've scheduled more frequent visits with my therapist leading up to school, and I've used online chat services that are available through my school to help deal with the pre-school and just overall anxiety about returning back to school. Recently, I've been having a hard time sleeping, and throughout the day, I sometimes feel so overwhelmed that it's hard to breathe. So I've tried to be more proactive about getting help. I'm still struggling a bit about deciding whether or not I need to reach out for help sooner or later, but I am trying to be honest with my friends and family about how I'm feeling and when I feel distressed. So this next tip is kind of boring because everyone with bipolar disorder knows how important sleep is. For me, the next tip to staying well and doing well in school is getting enough sleep. I usually need 9 to 10 hours of sleep every night, so the way that I manage this is by not scheduling any morning classes. Ideally, it'd be great if we could all get up and wake up and go to sleep at the same time consistently, but I think with classes and homework and everything that comes with being in school, it's really hard to have a consistent sleep schedule. So what I try to do is schedule my classes for later in the day, usually 10 a.m. or later. That way, if I need extra sleep, I can sleep in the morning and get that. So the last tip I have is getting some light exposure and getting some time in nature. I'm really privileged in that I have a nice path close to where I live that has a creek and some trees, and also that my campus has lots of trees that I pass on my way to classes. Spending some time going for a walk outside is really hard for me to do when I'm feeling down or anxious, but it's what ends up helping the most once I get over that initial activation step. So whenever I get a low grade or I'm feeling down or I feel anxious and I can't get started on work, I try to go outside and spend some time deliberately interacting with nature and deliberately getting some sunlight. It's an extremely important coping tool for me, even if it's just a few minutes outside looking at trees or a short walk. It is really helpful for my mental health to get that light exposure and get that nature exposure if you can manage it. Sometimes I feel like I don't have time for it or for doing any of the things that keep me well, but I have to remind myself that sleeping, movement, taking breaks are not extraneous to achieving my goals and doing well in school. They are a vital part of the process. So these are just a few of the tips that have helped me in the past get ready for school and that I hope to implement this term as well. I hope this video was helpful to you. Thanks for watching. Bye.